3-bet sizing explained. In online poker games, your 3-bet sizing is not a style choice. It is an expected value lever. If your size is off, you either give villains great pot odds to peel, or you bloat pots out of position with hands that would rather realize equity. Your goal is simple: force mistakes while keeping your own range functional. Most players think about 3-betting as, which hands do I raise? Pros think, what size makes the rest of my range work? Because once you pick a size, you lock in the stack-to-pot ratio, the stack-off frequency, and how easy it is for villain to defend correctly. What 3-bet sizing is trying to solve. A 3-bet has 3 jobs. First, it denies equity to hands that would love to see a flop cheaply. Second, it builds a pot when you have a range advantage. Third, it shapes the stack-to-pot ratio so your post-flop decisions are profitable, not heroic. Relative position dictates everything here. In position, you can apply pressure across streets, so you do not need a massive size to win the pot. Out of position, you need more immediate fold equity, and you want to stop villain from realizing equity with position. Also remember rake. On most online sites, rake punishes small pots and thin edges. That nudges us toward cleaner strategies, fewer flats and bad spots, and 3-bet sizes that win the pot pre-flop or create a pot that is worth fighting for post-flop. Rake matters, but it is only one variable alongside position, stack depth, and player type. Baseline sizes you can build around. Here are solid default sizings for 100 big blinds cash when you are multi-tabling and want something robust. These are not laws, they are high-performing baselines. First, in position versus an open, a 3-bet to about 3x the open size. If villain opens 2.5 big blinds, your default is around 7.5 big blinds. Second, out of position versus an open, 3-bet to about 4x the open size. Versus 2.5 big blinds, think 10 big blinds. Third, versus a small open, such as 2 big blinds, you can scale down slightly. In position, 6 big blinds to 6.5 big blinds. Out of position, 8.5 big blinds to 9 big blinds. Fourth, versus a large open, such as 3 big blinds, scale up. In position, around 9 big blinds. Out of position, around 12 big blinds. Why these numbers? Because you are balancing 2 competing forces. If you size too small, villain defends correctly with too much of their range, and your bluffs lose money because they do not generate folds. If you size too big, you force your own bluffs to risk too much, and you create awkward stack-to-pot ratio for your medium-strength value hands. The math that keeps you honest. 3-bet sizing is risk versus reward. You invest a certain amount to win the pot that already exists. From that, you can estimate how often you need folds for an immediate profit with a bluff. Example, cutoff opens to 2.5 big blinds. Blinds are 0.5 big blinds and 1 big blind. The pot is 4 big blinds before you act. If you are on the button and 3-bet to 7.5 big blinds, you're risking 7.5 big blinds to win 4 big blinds immediately. Ignoring post-flop expected value for a second, the break-even fold frequency is roughly 7.5 divided by 7.5 plus 4, which is about 65%. Now look what happens if you choose a smaller size like 6.5 big blinds. Your break-even fold frequency drops, but villains defend more because the price is better. That pushes you into more post-flop play, which is great if you are stronger than the pool. It is not great if you are playing a solid regular who defends well and makes your life difficult. Context dictates strategy. If you expect high fold frequency pre-flop, a slightly larger size can print. If you expect sticky defenders, you want a size that keeps your bluffs viable and protects your equity realization. In position, smaller, cleaner pressure. When you have position, your sizing can be tighter and still accomplish your objectives. You get to realize equity more often, and you can apply pressure on later streets. That reduces the need to buy folds pre-flop with an oversized 3-bet. In practice, in position sizing, around 3x keeps villain's calling range wide enough that your value hands get action while still charging the marginal stuff. It also keeps stack-to-pot ratio high enough that your strong but non-nutted hands like ace-queen and pocket jacks can win without being forced into low stack-to-pot ratio stack-offs on ugly boards. Exploit adjustment for online pools. If the blinds are call happy versus 3 bets, do not respond by making it gigantic automatically. Instead, keep size reasonable and shift toward a more value-dense 3-bet range. You will print post-flop because position is a weapon. Out of position, bigger because you bleed realization. Out of position, you pay a tax every time villain gets to see a flop with position. If you use the same size as in position, they defend too wide, realize too much equity, and your bluffs get dragged into miserable turn and river decisions. That is why out-of-position sizing around 4x is standard. It increases fold equity, reduces the number of multi-street spots you must navigate, and makes villains' calls less comfortable with hands like suited connectors and weak broadways. Also, watch who is left to act. If you are an A'er in the small blind versus a button open, there is still the big blind behind you. A bigger size helps in 2 ways. It discourages the big blind from coming along, and it makes the button pay a premium to play a pot where you start at a positional disadvantage post-flop. Key variables that should move your sizing. Good players do not lock into one number. They start with a baseline, then adjust for the situation. Here are the most important sizing levers. First, open size. Scale your 3-bet with the raised size. Small opens do not deserve the same huge punishment. Second, position. In position smaller, out of position bigger, because equity realization flips. Third, stack depth. Deeper stacks push you towards slightly larger sizings out of position to avoid bloated, high stack to pot ratio spots where position dominates. Deeper stacks in position can tolerate a bit smaller since you can maneuver. Fourth, player type. Versus Enits, size slightly bigger and keep bluffs that block continues. Versus loose callers, keep size reasonable but upgrade your value density. Fifth, rake and game texture. Higher rake environments reward winning pots pre-flop and building pots with clear edges. That supports disciplined 3-betting and less passive calling. Avoid these common online leaks. Leak 1 is using the same 3-bet size everywhere. That is lazy, and it creates predictable stack-to-pot ratios that good regulars exploit. Leak 2 is making it huge to punish without thinking about your own range. If you 3-bet to 12 big blinds in position at 100 big blinds stacks, your bluffs become expensive and your value range polarizes too much. You end up with an awkward strategy where you either have it or you do not. Leak 3 is hope poker. Do not justify small 3-bets or flats with hands like pocket 4s because you want to set mine. Online, with rake and aggressive population tendencies, passive lines bleed expected value. If you play small pairs, do it with a clear plan, either as a disciplined fold, a call in the right spot, or a 3-bet in a lineup that folds too much. Hand scenario. The button price tag. Game. 100 big blinds online cash, 6 max. Cutoff opens to 2.5 big blinds. You are button with 8-7 suited of spades. Blinds are unknown regulars. Your 3-bet sizing decision. If you go to 6.5 big blinds, cutoff gets a nice price and the blinds can peel more, which increases multi-way frequency. If you go to 7.5 big blinds, you tax the cutoff's opens and discourage the blinds from overcalling. You choose 7.5 big blinds. Action. Button 3-bets to 7.5 big blinds. Big blind folds. Cutoff calls. Pot is 16.5 big blinds. Flop. King of hearts, 9 of spades, 4 of clubs. Plan. This is a board where your hand has backdoor potential but limited immediate equity. Because your sizing created a manageable stack-to-pot ratio and kept ranges relatively tight, you can use a small C bet at a high frequency with range advantage. You bet 4.5 big blinds, cutoff folds often enough with their underpairs and whiffed broadways. And when called, you still have turn cards that let you barrel intelligently. How to choose between 2 reasonable sizes. On many sites, you will routinely decide between, say, 7 big blinds and 8 big blinds. Both are fine. Your choice should come from what you want villain's response to look like. First, if you want more folds now, go bigger, especially out of position. Second, If you want more calls from worse because you are value heavy, keep it slightly smaller in position. Third, if you expect a lot of 4 bets from a thinking regular, do not bloat your bluffs with an oversized size. Keep the risk controlled. Fourth, if there is a weak player in the blinds, consider sizing that discourages the regular from calling, but still invites the fish to make a mistake. That often means a clean baseline size, not a weird one. Your sizing is a message. It tells the table what kinds of pots you are trying to create. Make sure that message supports the entire strategy, not just one hand. Key takeaway: use baseline 3 bet sizings that make your whole range profitable, about 3x in position and 4x out of position, then adjust for open size, stack depth, and who is left to act. In online pools, avoid tiny 3 bets that invite wide, rake-heavy defenses and avoid massive 3 bets that overprice your bluffs. Pick the size that forces the most mistakes from villain while keeping your post-flop plan clean. Now, let's test your edge. Question 1. What are the article's baseline 3 bet sizes for 100 big blinds cash games when facing an open raise in position and out of position? Answer: about 3x in position and about 4x out of position. Explanation: the article recommends these as robust defaults that balance denying equity, generating fold equity, and keeping stack-to-pot ratios functional. Question 2. In the example where cutoff opens to 2.5 big blinds and the pot is 4 big blinds, what is the approximate break-even fold frequency for a button 3 bet to 7.5 big blinds, ignoring post-flop expected value? Answer: about 65%. Explanation: the text estimates break-even folds as risk divided by risk plus reward. 7.5 divided by 7.5 plus 4 is approximately 65. Question 3. According to the article, why is 3 bet sizing typically bigger when you are out of position? Answer: because you bleed equity realization out of position, so you need more fold equity and to make calls less comfortable. Explanation: the article explains that using the same size out of position lets opponents defend too wide with position, dragging you into tougher multi-street spots. Question 4. In the button price tag scenario, which 3 bet size does the article choose versus the 2.5 big blinds cutoff open? And what is the stated reason? Answer: 7.5 big blinds to tax the cutoff and discourage the blinds from overcalling. Explanation: the text contrasts 6.5 big blinds, which gives a better price and increases multi-way pots, with 7.5 big blinds, which adds pressure and reduces overcalls. Question 5. What common leak does the article warn against when players punish with an oversized 3 bet in position at 100 big blind stacks? Answer: making the 3 bet huge without considering your range, which makes bluffs too expensive and polarizes your strategy. Explanation: the article says oversized in position sizing, for example, to 12 big blinds, overprices bluffs and creates awkward, overly polarized ranges. Study hard, play smart. That's it for now. I'll see you in the next lesson.